talking about today. We're going to be talking about something appropriate to the moment
Okay.
because 'tis the season. And thank you, Glenn, for yesterday with the most festive time of the year, or whatever he was talking about. Oh my goodness. But I think a lot of people during this time of year could use a bit of tranquility. Hi, Linda. Linda knows all about tranquility. The stress of the holidays. This is a reality for a lot of people, and it has been for me for years as well, right? Because I feel like there's all these demands and expectations, right? And it's not just the holidays. I just think it's augmented during the holidays. I think that we get to put a magnifying glass on it, if you will, or if we've been vague up to this point about how overwhelmed we may have been in life. Right now, we're not vague at all. Now it's the end of the year, right? There's nothing vague about that. So, but that brings to mind, this whole idea of, well, what would be the opposite of being overwhelmed and frantic and whatever? Well, it would be serene, tranquil, calm. And we've talked about Reinhold Niebuhr's serenity prayer, the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Well, I can't change the calendar. Okay, so let me go ahead and just accept that. Okay. But the courage to change the things I can also leads to what? Me expressing my own personal responsibility for how I live my life. Right. And then, of course, the wisdom to know the difference. So all of it's on me, really. So the way that it's presented in that very well known serenity prayer is that we're asking for something. But I think the point of all this, and this goes right along with the book that we're reading, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, is that prayer benefits us. It's not the universe and omnipotent God and it's not like there's any ignorance out there. The ignorance is right here. So this benefits me when I get to a point where I'm having the correct conversation. We can call this scientific prayer. When I'm having the correct conversation with myself, affirming that which is, okay, rather than just going into agreement with all of these assumed demands, obligations, timelines, whatever, right? When I'm just knowing the truth, well, then I get to be tranquil. I get to be serene. And there's no need, and Missy and I were just laughing about this before we went live. There's no need for a tranquilizer, which also has the word tranquil in it, right? But tranquility, right, is something that I could actually choose. Now, if you're in the thick of it, and just hearing myself say that, I could choose tranquility. I can choose serenity. Screw you, man. I'm in the thick of it. You don't know. I got it hard. I've got demands, obligations. Okay. So you can reject that. You can reject that you are actually able to choose, that you are responsible, that you're able to respond to whatever these inputs are, rather than just react. But if we take it down to like some of the most basic reminders that we've been given as far as like being personally effective and serene and tranquil in your life, for example, Steve Covey. Not that I'm relegating him down to just the bare bones basics, but he did expand on things that are basic to the point where they became very usable for millions of people who've read the book. But one of the ideas that he talked about is responsibility and proactivity, right? And putting first things first, right? Having prioritization. And these are the sort of things when we think about the difference between responding and just reacting to life. These are the things which I think accumulate and then reveal in times of franticness or end of year, holiday season, whatever, that reveal what our habits have been in terms of our own responsibility versus our own just willingness to, abandon all that and just react. And I guess, there's some use in, there's some survival use in terms of like instincts. And, when the saber-toothed cat confronts you, you react, right? You're not sitting there pondering, well, what would be, the most advantageous, approach to this. No, you react instinctively. Okay, you either fight or flight, or hopefully you don't just freeze. But great news, everybody, in case you haven't noticed. Your life isn't being threatened, 3 times a day by saber-toothed cats. Actually, that may or may not be great news. Because think of it, if you actually had life-threatening conditions 3 times a day, if there was really saber-toothed cats, perhaps you'd have more perspective on like what you call your problems now, right? So how tragic. Anybody got any saber-toothed cats? I need some real problems over here. I'm bored. So why can, and this is what was coming up for me today, just as I logged in. Why can people, let's say, for example, here's a guru, a swami, a lama, right? Like in the Hindu religion, right here. Why can the monk, right? Why can this person, this spiritual seeker, sit there and be tranquil when they appear to have, in terms of, here's my stuff, right? Oh, stuff, I got a robe, ate a bowl of rice yesterday, whatever, we're good. I actually heard, anybody ever heard of a guy named Yogananda? He wrote a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, and, Hindu guy. And so here's this Swami, and he's, he's seeking throughout India, for other, gurus and enlightenment and all this. And one of the people that he meets, this is out of his autobiography, one of the people that he meets was this guy who lived out in the wherever and would sit and meditate on a pile of dung. Yeah, like for real. Like, here's a pile of shit, and he just goes and sits on it, and like in his bliss, man, just like. So, and why would he do that, right? Well, according to at least Yogananda's assessment, he has transcended, like preferences about this and that, and it's just earth stuff, and whatever. Here I am, having an opinion about it. Well, let's address that then. Go sit on the pile of dung until you have no more opinion about it, I suppose. Interesting. You know what? Virginia's tuning in right as I was relaying the story. So, Virginia, you have no context for this. The instructions for the day, Virginia, for each and every member is to go find a pile of dung and sit on it and be happy about it. Oh my goodness. What we're talking about. Go ahead.
I'm picking up my luggage, so
okay.
We're good. We're done with that.
All right. Glad you're here, my friend.
On mute.
Very good. Oh, you're driving. I see you now. Very good. Glad you're here, Virginia. So what we're talking about is choosing to be tranquil, choosing serenity, which may or may not seem reasonable, and doesn't seem reasonable if you're in the thick of it, right? If you are in the crap, so to speak. But again, that's a perspective. That's a perspective. So whether we're talking metaphorically in the crap or literally, like this guru guy, and by the way, that's not something that people have to go duplicate, right? Is that how you find enlightenment? In this case, Yogananda was just observing. Here's one guy, and that was the path that he chose. I didn't choose it, but okay. And so when we look at what allows us to get the perspective necessary for us to not get so engrossed or involved or consumed by the impingements, the appearances, the things which can take us out of a state of serenity, that's something where we're going to have to choose a path. I think we're going to have to choose a path. Now, for some people, yeah, maybe it's just sitting there and being quiet, and that's a nice reprieve. That's a nice, we talked about in Joe Murphy's book, sleep, right, as a sort of a meditative state. Okay. He also talked about, multiple times throughout the book about, stilling your body, stilling, your mind to the best of your ability, and and then presenting, here's the scientific use of prayer, right? Here's the thing that I'm affirming. Here is the truth of my being, regardless of appearances. And it wasn't like Joe Murphy, was the first guy to talk about this. It's been all through the ages, right? Thousands of years. Okay. So that's a path. And it's one that I think we could all afford to just sit there and contemplate, or, postulate, meditate, whatever, right? And just consider our own thoughts, just be conscious of our own consciousness. This is what separates us from the saber-toothed cat, who only knows instinct, right? Attack, food, right? No consciousness of that, right? Like, oh, well, let me consider, the pros and cons. No considerations about it. I even mentioned this in Integrity is Everything, talking about how, the lion of the jungle doesn't sit there bemoaning, whether or not should I make the kill? I'm not sure. Do I even deserve this? I'm worthiness issues now. And, my parents said this. No, the tall oak tree or redwood or whatever doesn't sit there arguing with itself about, do I even deserve to be taller than all these other little trees and shrubberies and stuff? Shrubberies, right? Who am I to be the tallest? Right? No, there's none of that crap. Right? So we do ourselves in. And so I think it would be good and right to go ahead and sit and just observe, well, here's what I'm thinking. And just to be awake enough to look. That's a path. Okay. Another path, I suppose we could say, would be like a devotional path, which is kind of foreign to me in terms of, what I practice, on a daily basis. So here's a person who gets very emotional about, scripture, or regardless of which scripture we're talking about here. Here's the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, Quran, whatever, right? So you've got a variety of things that people can feel devoted to, and there is an uplifting, experience from that. And that's another path. And I think we all experience bits of this. While I don't identify myself as like a devotional type person, it's certainly, I've experienced the validity of that at times, throughout my life. The path that I find myself on mostly is not an easy one, and it's the intellectual path. It's the scientific path. So break stuff down to the point where you build the case and sell it back to yourself, and like, here's why it all worked, or here's why stuff doesn't work. For me, I gravitate towards that. And this is, I would say, very common in like the Buddhist religion, right? Where there's a whole lot of, thought that goes into that. And like Zen koans and things like the unponderable, ideas that you could sit and think about for 20 years and see what you come up with. But that's intellectual, which is also, I would say, not only an easy path, but it's one that can take up, a good amount of attention and give perspective on, well, why am I actually feeling this way or believing this way? And when we can get down to that, if that's in fact something you like to do, we can get to the point where we are so convicted. In other words, we've got such knowingness. I like knowing stuff, right? And that's why I'm on the intellectual path. But we know stuff to the point where we are then impervious to a large degree to these other things that suggest that we don't or can't know stuff. So this is an interesting path. It's not an easy one. Okay, to me, and this is just my perspective, it's easier to just sit and be quiet and to release, or to be emotional or devoted, or like go do the the dancing and the chanting, and I mean, there's lots of different things you could do. But it all comes down to, what is the end result of all this? We could say tranquility, serenity, enlightenment, which I don't claim to have achieved, at least not to a large degree. And what? Workability. does our life work for us? Now that's, you set your own barometer with that. But in this most wonderful time of the year, right, where a lot of people are, just statistically speaking, right, a lot of people are stressed out, people take themselves out, this time of year, there's a lot of, when I hear the song, it's the most wonderful time of the year, I'm thinking, well, who's singing it? We can, if we're conscious enough to just remember who we are, to get centered on that, and to correctly perceive outside influences and little, ankle biting problems and the demands of life and all this as temporal, because they are. I mean, what isn't temporary, right? Everything's temporary. So here are situations, circumstances, whatever. But does that have to change who I am? So no matter what the path is, coming back to center, right? Once we're at center and we know that we are, well, then we can have a bit more detachment from all the outside stuff. There was a book that became rather popular by a guy named Eckhart Tolle. Anybody know Eckhart Tolle? The Power of Now. By the way, if you're ever having a hard time getting to sleep, all you got to do is put on the Power of Now audiobook, read by the author, Eckhart Tolle, and you will be out like that. I don't know if anybody's heard this guy talk, but oh my goodness. You want tranquility? You want to go to sleep? So those who don't know, have fun with that. But I guess if you got the title, you got the whole meaning of the book, right? So the Power of Now. All right. But one of the things that Tolle talked about in that book, beyond just the title of it, was that when you know that you're not in the present moment, when you know that you're projecting here or there, I'm in the past, I'm in the future, I got my stories about this and that, and I'm not tranquil, right? When you recognize, when you become conscious that you're not in present time, now you're in present time. So there's the dichotomy, right? The person who is drifting through life and they're always, thinking past and future and all of their projected stories about, what problems they have, they're not in present time. But the person who could sit there and be conscious of, hey, I'm not in present time. Now you are. Because now you're dealing with what is, your own thinkingness, your own beingness as it relates to right now. And the fact that you consider that you aren't right now. Okay, well, now you are. So I like that approach because it's so simple, but it also reminds me of, regardless of what your path is, if we're just recognizing that most of the time we spend in our own head isn't based on right now reality, then the whole story and the drama and the emotional involvement with it, it loses power and we regain power. The only time we can have an effect is right now, right? To state the obvious. All right. The only time I can cause something to occur is right now. Does that mean that my postulates for the future are worthless? No. Each consecutive moment of right now is based on what? My intention, which I damn well should have some, right? So that's cool, right? Sit there and contemplate futures and successes and all that. That's what productive and sane people do. But to be emotionally involved in the story about, well, what if it doesn't work? And, all the counterintention, the internal dialogue, the fighting, the cognitive dissonance, all of that takes me out of now and into all of these. What did Samuel Clemens say? I've had thousands of problems in my life, most of which never actually occurred, right? Takes me down that road. I guess the truth is I take myself down that road. So if we're experiencing tranquility, bravo. No need for tranquilizers. I've got my tranquilizer right here. I'm going to sit here and shut up and think for a minute. There's my tranquilizer, right? Or not think, right? If you can get to that point. Or, right, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to intellectually, now I'm going to read some scripture, some personal development, some philosophy, and I'm going to bolster my own knowingness through the intellectual path, right? Or I'm going to go volunteer at the local place to do what? To contribute, to give something, right? Which makes me tranquil, because now I'm not get, right? Like that rat looking for cheese, right? I lack, I need, I want, I have to get, right? So now what? I have, look here, you have, right? Here, let me serve the, the less fortunate. That's another valid. I mean, look, the barometer is how you feel. So I'm not attached to methods. Sometimes I wish I wasn't, so damn intellectual, because again, that's not an easy path. Okay, having to break everything down to the minutia and then put it back together just to get back to the same truth that was there the whole damn time, right? I guess if other people can get to it, to just sit there and do a whirling dance or something and chanting, okay, I don't know. For me, that there's no, I'm not convinced. Okay, feels nice though. Feels nice reprieve, nice break. And look, I'm not here to validate or invalidate any path. I'm here to say that if you're experiencing tranquility, well, then something's working for you. If you can remain centered in the face of whatever the most wonderful time of the year brings you, well, then something's working for you, right? If you can remain, here's another way to say it. If you can remain cause in the face of all these effects that might suggest that you're not cause, that you can't respond, that you're not in control, that you're not responsible, that you're not able, right? Well, then something's working for you. But if we're frantic, well, what could we do? I just gave you a number of ideas of things that you could do. And you can commingle, as Deepak Chopra said, dynamism with stillness, right? So here's the meditative state and here's the working dynamic state, right? And when you take breaks from the dynamism to get into stillness, then the qualities of what he calls the unified field or pure potentiality, God, right? Omnipotence, right? The qualities of that are imbued into the dynamism. Now we get into a state of more spontaneous right action, less forcing, more powerful, less forceful. There's a difference, okay? More powerful, but less forceful. That easy flowing experience. Doesn't that sound good? An easy flowing experience. I had a student, I don't know, she might be listening right now. Abby, I don't know if you're seeing this on YouTube, but Abby has hung around with myself and Shannon and some of our business partners for probably 15 years. And she heard me once just say that, this whole business thing that we're doing here should be an easy flowing experience. And she actually went ahead and bought the email address, right? Because just apparently had an impact on her. Just that whole phrase, right? Easy flow. Yeah, that feels better to me than force and fight and struggle. Well, let's do that then. So right there, every time she sends or receives an email, it's an affirmation of, the intent behind all this is to have an easy flowing experience. Again, it's not always apparent, right? That's not always how we observe things. And yet I could tell you multiple times just this week where I've heard people say, you know what, this was a turd. And it turned out to be serendipitous. You know what, here's what came from the turd. So that passed because it all, everything's temporary. And then the fruit of that, which I didn't expect or plan for, was these advantages. How serendipitous, right? And we've all seen this again and again in our lives. So I guess the punchline then is you don't have to have all the answers, right? So all your thinkingness, all of your opinions and your story about it and the emotional attachment, to what end? To what end, right? Things are going to work out. In fact, I said this to my wife and she says it to me all the time. Things always work out for us. I was like, you're right. So I was getting a little bit frantic, right? And then a couple of days later, she was getting a little bit frantic. And so I had to remind her. So we just keep reminding each other. We could probably get his and hers parrots, and we could just train the parrots, right? It all works out for us. Oh, thank you for the reminder. I mean, that's how basic this is. And yet, sometimes all we need to do is hear it from another, right? Because I'm in my own head. So now you're not, right? So thank you for reminding me. Things work out for us. I mean, here we are. You guys remember the series of movies, The Matrix? And which I named my daughter after one of the characters. But the second movie, the Reloaded or whatever, right, where they're all underground, and Morpheus is going to address the humans of Zion, right, in the underground city, the last remaining human city, and these people are scared because of the machines, right? For those who don't know the story, the machines have taken over the planet, and the machines are here to terminate people and wipe out humans. And he said, yes, the rumors are true. The machines are coming and they want to attack. But I'm not scared. I'm not scared. For more than 100 years, they've been trying to destroy us. But I'm not scared. You know why I'm not scared? We're still here. And the crowd erupts. Oh, my goodness, you're so right. We're still here. That's right. There's no need to be scared. Let's all do the jiggy dance and whatever they do now. And they're doing like tribal stuff. And we're still here. So just to observe in present time, here's the truth. It's all worked out for you. Can we have that experience? I guess you can go watch movies and get inspired, but I guess you could watch your own movie. Look at your own life. Something's working for you. Yeah, it is. And we'll continue to advance. But the whole idea of being frantic and desperate, like my Chihuahua when he wants a piece of ham, he's so friggin' desperate, right? So don't be that. Don't be that. What the hell am I talking about today? I'm actually filling in for Shannon. She's getting our car serviced right now. So hopefully you got something out of that. Tranquility, ladies and gentlemen, by whatever means, and hopefully not tranquilizers. Okay. So I'm not suggesting you do that. I guess that's another path, and it's not a workable one. I will tell you right now. But you deserve to recognize that things work out for you. Yeah. You're still here. You're still here. Anyway, I love you guys. I'd love to hear any other thoughts, ideas about that. We've got an intimate crowd today. Look at this. We could go around the table and all share an idea about how you return to center. Missy, if you would, come on out, my friend.
Well, for other people who are listening, who are struggling, in our book study on Monday, something went inside of me, because preceding that for 2 days, I was crying for 2 days over these platforms that are destroying my work and other things, especially a website. Mm-hmm. But something happened in the book club that made me say, this is the end of this road, of this reactionary person, of just be affected, blown by the winds, And I'm not saying that by any means, I am not perfect at it, but I made the choice to drive myself toward self-mastery on autopilot. I'm not going to force the car like that, like I used to, because I had years and years of piles of dung that I have done nothing with except rail against. And now I'm welcoming them because I have a different mindset about them. And they are here to help me, if I will just see it that way. And yes, I still have to get the problems fixed, but I don't have to fix it by giving myself a breakdown or making somebody else cry on the phone, which I did, by the way, but they deserved it. But anyway, I'm still me. I'm not going to change who I am. Sometimes they gotta, but I have definitely made a choice, and self-mastery is what I'm after. It's not making mugs. I love making the mugs and the products. I love it. I enjoy it like I've never enjoyed anything before. And selling things, I never thought I would like doing that. It's so foreign to me, but I like it. And the people like me, and I know I'm not doing a great job yet, but it's coming. It's coming. There's no doubt in my mind. it's never something I never wanted to do, but I keep picturing myself on a stage. It's the most bizarre thing. But for people who are struggling, there's going to come a moment where you say, the stories don't work. They're not helping you. And you're going to reach that moment, but you have to hang in. And you have to read, and you have to absorb the reading, and you have to make it part of your life. So anybody out there listening to this, if you only knew what I've been through for the last 50 some odd years, you would say, if she can do it, then I can do it. And you probably haven't been through that as much. If you had last rites, then maybe you can relate to that. But don't give up. Stay on the journey. Welcome the piles of dung and learn to rise above it here, not down on your bottom, here. And that's the answer. So that's my choice. And I know I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to have to wipe some crap off, but I'm going to do it, period.
Thank you, Missy. Yes, you are. And you are doing it. You are doing it. Look, is there anyone who's known Missy for a few months who does not recognize the evolution, the advancement? I think it's obvious, I think. So thank you, Missy. But it's always there, right? I mean, all of this, we're talking about being powerful, right? We're talking about being serene and centered and all this. Is that something that we have to go get or attain? Or is it something that's already there, right? Or we just like taking the stuff off of the truth? Linda's here. Hey, Linda.
Hey, John. How are you? Missy, I love you. Love you too, John. Yeah, for me, I don't know, my level of awareness this year has really grown. And I think serenity really coincides with that, your level of awareness. I have less and less moments where I react, and more that when I respond. Of course, I had one last week too, Missy. And like you, it was a growth thing. So yeah, it's just the power of positive thinking, and the more positive thoughts that you put out there, the more that's gonna come back to you. Like you say, John, inflow, outflow. So we just have to keep positive all the time, and have faith. Without that, we got nothing.
It's a big word, Linda. Yeah, faith.
Yeah.
Faith in what?
Yep.
Right. So, and that's where, Missy's talking about, reading the books or scripture or whatever that you're taking in to reinforce that faith or that knowingness
Right.
of, where we're going and how powerful we actually are or can be.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's already in there. It's not like there's something to attain out there.
Right. So, it's within us, but just realizing that it is there.
Realizing
is big for me this year.
Yeah. You said realizing, making real, realizing.
Making real. Yeah.
Sure. I've heard it said that, people talk about fulfilling your potential, but the better word might be realizing your potential. Right.
Yep.
So it's already there. Okay. Interesting.
And just how powerful we really are through our thoughts and our emotions and our ability to be positive and think beyond the goal, and why you're thinking beyond the goal. Like, what is the reason behind it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Linda, you are one of my favorite people on the planet. I just want you to know that. So if nobody's told you that in a while, I just told you. So thank you for being here, my friend. And look, we're just getting going. And look, Linda and Virginia and Daisy, who's not here right now, and Glenn Henderson, and we all got together. I tell you, it's one of the highlights, I think, of my life, is being on the firing line with Linda and Virginia.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, in Pahrump, Nevada. It's awesome. So can't wait to do it again. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the 4-day next time. I'm gonna suck it up.
Oh, yeah. 4 days where it's at.
I'm
Today's,
glad I didn't do 4 days though,
yeah.
because it was grueling. It was very, it's like now I understand what it's all about, and you really have to be in that mindset. Okay, this is tough. This isn't easy. This is hard.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I was here to have fun.
that was a basic. That was a basic course.
Yeah, it
Once
was a
you've mastered
basic.
that,
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah,
good
but it
times.
was
But it's like any other
definitely.
discipline. Look, we've got people here in business and in a variety of disciplines that others. Let's say right now I showed up in in Edward's world. Hey, Edward. And Edward's really good at some things which I'm ignorant. I don't know. I'm like the tyro, the neophyte. I don't know anything. So on that level, it's like foreign to me. And of course, vice versa, right? Here are things that I've just given my attention and developed an aptitude for, which now seem quite basic to me, but they're like, holy crap, mastery level to people who've never confronted it before. So, Linda, I think in your case and in everyone's case, how can we exploit by choice, right? How can we exploit our strengths? How can we develop them to such a high level that we have no competition? Wow, right? Because that's valid. That's valid, and you deserve that. I think self-denial is pretty commonplace these days, where people self-deprecate, right, or they make less of themselves because it's fashionable or agreeable or something. Screw that. Screw that. Go be a master. That's what I think. Anyway. Anybody else? Any other thoughts here? I know we've got other masters amongst us, the master calligrapher, the master cookie person. Right. Hey, Virginia.
Hey, I'm still driving, but this is a wonderful topic today and really coincides with where I feel like I have been trying to make things happen, and I'm trying to do everything. Was just talking about like the cookie book, for instance, where I have 200 printed copies, and I'm trying to get Amazon to put those on and take the other ones off. And I cried on Misty's shoulder yesterday afternoon. I had like a little breakdown. I'm like, I can't believe that they don't tell you this stuff, and this is like secret information that you can't find, because in a nutshell, what I found is when Amazon prints your book on KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, they might anticipate so many books will sell, so they'll pre-print those and they have them in all their warehouses. So that's what they did, but they won't tell you how many they pre-printed. You have no idea. And so although I'm no longer publishing the book as far as letting them publish it, until they sell their inventory, which I didn't even know they had, it's going to keep selling. So it's a whole I think I'm going to go ahead next year and actually do the How to Publish Your Book course that I was working on earlier this year, because there's so much stuff out there that they don't tell you and you can't find, and they don't even know, and they're sworn to secrecy. But I just thought, okay, it's not supposed to be this struggle. I have done everything that I can do. I have talked to all the powers that be. There's nothing more I can do at this point than just let it ride its course. And when I relaxed on that, Misty, you'll be glad to hear this, things started changing. All of a sudden, I said, well, let me mark down my book a couple of bucks, and then maybe somebody will buy it because they can get it tomorrow, as opposed to if they buy the one through Amazon, which is maybe $1 or something less, it'll take 3 days to get there. So maybe they'll pay $1 more and get, I'm like I'm competing against myself. So, and ever since I did that, and I kind of just said, okay, this is going to happen. This is going to be, I'm just going to make a little less profit, but still more than what Amazon is paying me. Amazon started changing the price of the book. I had it discounted from $19.95 to $15.83 for like 2 or 3 weeks. They change the price whenever they want because they're the retailer. They can sell it at whatever they want. And since then, I've sold, I have to look now to see, but yesterday one book of mine went ahead and sold. And Amazon has now raised the price of their offer back up to like $18.60. So every time I see Amazon has now raised the price of the book, it's supposed to be $20 basically. I just go behind them and raise it up a couple pennies less than them. So I'm now in the buy box. Like, okay, they just have to find a different way, and different things have to happen, and I have to not struggle. I cannot remember which book we did. It's not the current one that was just finished, but maybe the one before, where it talked about if you're trying to make things happen and force things happen, it's not flowing easily, and you're not putting the right intention out there, the right vibes.
Mm-hmm.
To see what
I think we're
happens.
losing Virginia. Was that Working with the Law by Ray Hollywell?
Yeah, working with the law. Can you hear me?
Not well.
Yeah.
You're in a bad spot. Cellular.
Right now.
Okay. No worries, Virginia. Thank you. And that's a great book, Working with the Law. I'm glad we covered it. And I think that was your first exposure to it. So I'm very glad we covered it. So good times. Thank you, Virginia. And glad that you're making sales on your cookbook. By the way, Virginia's book is awesome. If you're into Italian cookies, definitely grab a copy of that. All right.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
No. Yes. Okay. Just want to let you know that as of this morning, it had already sold 228 copies through the Amazon.
Fantastic.
I haven't been able to sell mine, but 228. That's like awesome. I'm lucky of 100 sales, so that's like incredible. So that's great.
Congratulations. Beautiful. Well done, Virginia. And this is just the beginning. So thank you again, my friend. We'll let you get on with your driving. Any other thoughts today before we wrap up on tranquility? Janet, hello.
Sorry, I start talking, but the mute is on. Silly girl. Okay. Yeah, thank you for all of this, John. You're not talking about the kind of tranquil that has you sitting on dung and doing nothing else. We're talking about the kind of thing that keeps you centered so that, as you said, the Chopra thing, dynamism with stillness, so that you're not being led off of center by all of the saber-toothed tigers that might be grabbing at us. We're saying, we're like telling them to be quiet while we're doing what we're doing, because that's how we're going to get further. And that's all true. Everything you said about that is absolutely all true. I was thinking about Plato's allegory of the cave. And the thing between potential and actual. So we were talking a lot this morning about potential things. And it took me quite a while. Well, I guess I studied this. I was first in college, and what those words meant. But potential, it's all there. It's possible. It's being formed. It's in the state of being created, perhaps. But it isn't until you move on it that it becomes actual. And that's the difference of where you can then be cause. It's when it becomes actual. So when you're always telling us, done is your favorite word. And I'm starting to see, because I really have been a perfectionist, and I don't know have been, I am a perfectionist in what I do, trying to do my very, very best. I tell my students that practice doesn't make perfect, as far as I know. Practice makes better, because I haven't seen perfect. But but actualizing, making something actual, making it happen, even if later on you then, as you've learned, you can make it better, then that's perhaps the thing that gets us, puts the tiger back on its perch. You don't have to come after me, because I am working on this. And I don't like the word trying anymore. I learned that to try is to come from a place of lack. So I have changed my wording to say, I'm working on, not trying. So when you're working on something, and as you get into it, you see how you can make it better. And you can't see it from where you're sitting. You have to see it from where you're moving into and through. But if you do it with calm, if you do it with centeredness, if you stay in the moment, then yes, you will be able to see beyond where you've moved to, but you have to move to that spot to see the next spot, I think. So all of the things that you are telling us, or exposing us to, or helping us to see, they're slowly sinking into this thick head. And yes, I'm realizing more and more the truth of much of that. So I have to thank you so much for that, John. But that little potential versus actual thing floated in after I was, looking at all my notes from this morning, and just seeing how, yeah, okay, it's maybe not going to be the actual finished product, but you move, and it becomes your insight and your sight and your point of view. I'm very big on point of view, but calmness, tranquility. You will not get a clear point of view if you are all scattered about and frantic. So I absolutely so good, John. And for you to come up with this in the midst of moving, which has got to be one of the most tangentializing kinds of things possible. I was wondering if there would be a bookcase today or not.
Yeah. Well, we've gone from potential to actual moving. So
yes, you are moving in that
right.
direction, and that's so good. So I really thank you for all of your. Yes, I know Tolle. Yes, I know the guru thing. All of those I have read or come into contact with, but it's making it real inside of you, to where you have the, and our present book. Anyone who hasn't joined book club, come listen, because our last one is Monday on this book. It really, I have to sit with this book for much, much longer, John, because the lessons are so profound. And partly it's just because I'm moving into other spaces. So I'm able to hear and see differently than I would have, 6 months ago, a year ago. It's all from where you stand to what you see. And standing in your center, standing in a tranquil place, absolutely is the place where you can see more clearly. And clarity is one of the things that I put in my mind, going to sleep, waking up, health and wealth and confidence and and clarity. That's big for me. So thank you so much. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Glad you're here, Janet, and excited to see where else we're going with all this. So thank you, Missy, Edward, Linda, Virginia, everyone else tuning in live or recorded. I'm going to be back here with you tomorrow. Let me just check my calendar. I think we're clear for today. Yes, we got nothing more today. We did have a fun and enlightening networking magic event last night. So you can tune into your recording on that. It's all on the members site. And I guess with that, I'm going to go ahead and check on my daughter and wrap up for today. So love you guys.